I'm Kayla, the Booktube Turtle, and today I am going to be doing my Beyond the Fire Q&A giveaway. So first off, I'm recording this on my iPad because my camera's being stupid and just like not working today, which is kind of concerning, but it's fine. But I really wanted to get this video up, and we're gonna hope that this quality is not absolutely terrible. So thank you so much to everybody who submitted questions and all of that. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to kind of dive into all of this and answer all the questions that you all have about writing and my books. So the first question we have is from Mythical Megan. Asks, what inspired you / gave you the idea for the story? So I feel like I've probably talked about this before a little bit. I'm not really sure exactly. I've always really loved dystopian stories, and the idea just kind of popped into my head one day, specifically April 11th, 2016. And yeah, I actually still have the note that I typed down on an old device that I saved. Okay, so this is exactly what I wrote down when I got the idea. Girl gets glimpses of people's futures when she touches / makes contact with them. Never told anyone, tries not to touch or be touched. Someone brushes past her and she sees them die. She has to figure out who it is and how to stop it from happening. So that was kind of like my initial thought, which is not at all what the book ended up being. So the next line down says something about the government, ? And then, maybe she's in a secret government program of kids with special abilities. When the book starts, it is her first time outside of the compound. Was she taken away from her parents, ? Supposed to find people and help them. Program has ulterior motives. Program assigned her to him because they knew he was a potential threat. She has to get a reading of his future and report back. After that, they tell her she needs to eliminate him, which is a lot closer to what the book actually ended up being. So that's just a little bit into my thought process as well, of how ideas kind of develop in my brain. But yeah, there wasn't really something specific that inspired the idea. It just kind of popped into my head one day and we just went from there. So, the next question, Connor asks, how was the writing experience for book 2 different from book 1? One of the major differences was that because book 1 already exists, and especially now that it's published and out in the world, people have read it, I had to be very careful about making sure that whatever I put in book 2 wasn't going to contradict book 1. So I would look stuff up in book 1 all the time to make sure that what I was doing wasn't going to mess with something I had already done. And then at some point I completely read book 1 cover to cover and then made notes of things where I was like, I'm not sure if this line's up, I need to go check. So that was an interesting part of the experience that I haven't really had to deal with before. I also know a lot more about the publishing process now, and so I had a much easier time of acquiring beta readers and working with an editor and all of that because I kind of knew more about how to go about doing that. And then also just generally having feedback from book 1 and knowing that so many people were anxiously awaiting for book 2 really helped motivate me to keep pushing through the book, especially those times when I was very frustrated and I was just at the point where I was like, I don't want to see this book ever again, I'm so done. So it really helped having everybody's encouragement and support and stuff throughout the year to just keep me moving forward. Bookstar Bree asks, how long did it take you to write book 2? So it took me about a year, but the first draft I wrote was back when I was in high school, 4 years ago at this point, I guess. And that was a hot mess. So I rewrote it in December 2020, and I have been working on it all year, so by the time it comes out, it'll be almost a year at that point. A big difference compared to book 1, in which I literally spent 5 years working on it, just over and over and over again. Read Between the Lines asks, do you edit during writing or once the first draft is done? So I don't edit while working on a first draft. If I did, I would never reach the end of the draft. I would be constantly trying to make things better and not moving forward at all. So I just like to keep pushing through it, because the goal of a first draft is to finish the book. It doesn't have to be good yet. So yeah, I just push through so I can get the story out, because once it's on the page, you can start to fix it. So yeah, I usually do a first draft, and then I kind of make notes of things I want to change. Then I do a second draft, and that feels more like an actual completed book. So I send it to betas, do a third draft, send it to my editor, do a fourth draft, do a final round of betas, and then a final draft. It's an extensive process. Pigeonim asks, what was your inspiration behind making Jesse? I love him. I love him too. Love him so much. And I don't know, he just kind of popped into my head. Like, the day that the story idea popped in my head, by the end of that day, Emma, Jesse, and Cameron had all been created in my mind. I wanted a character who seemed like hard and like standoffish, I guess, like on the outside, but was actually like really soft and good. I mean, like, along with some really deep-rooted issues, because he's not okay, and he's got a lot of problems, but I love him so much. And, like, yeah, like, I mean, he doesn't really get along with others, he doesn't like being around other people, he prefers being alone, except for when it comes to his family, his siblings, and now Emma. So yeah, I just really really wanted a character with that kind of difference in, like, how they seem to be and how they actually are. Gabby Reeds asked, who's your favorite character in your book? Like I said, Jesse all the way. I love him so much. Outside of, like, you know, our two main characters, I really love Charlotte. I love her so much, and I'm so excited for, like, she's, like, really involved in book 2. There's a lot of her in book 3, and I'm very excited to write it. Yeah, but Jesse will always be my number 1. Alice Stone Writes asked, what part of either book was the most fun for you to write? Possible, kind of spoilery for book 1. So for book 1, the kidnapping section has always been my favorite. I don't know why. I mean, I do, but, like, I don't know. But I've always had so much fun writing that part and reading that part. I don't know, it's like the only time in the entire series where they and, like, Emma and Jesse can yell at each other all they want, and there's no consequences, because they both know the truth about the other one, and, you know, everybody's on the same page about sketchiness and stuff, but they aren't friends yet. Whereas, like, if they get into a fight later, it's like, okay, you can't just start yelling at somebody and not expect that to be a problem. But yeah, I just really like that section, and it's also when a lot of information is revealed that makes a lot of things make sense, that maybe previously didn't, and so, I don't know, it's just a good section, and I really have always enjoyed it. And for book 2, I do have one. I don't want to say it because spoilers, since book 2 isn't out. If you're a beta and you've read it, this sounds bad, I really like the last chapter. It's just so, there's so many emotions in that chapter. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. But I really like that one. And I really like... Never mind, I'm not gonna say that. Books and Sunshine asks, do you ever get writer's block? Are there moments when you don't know how to continue the story? So not really. Like, sometimes I won't be, like, motivated to write, but I don't really get writer's block. I extensively outline my novels, so I always kind of have, like, a roadmap for what comes next and how things are going to play out. And if something changes, then I just update my outline to reflect those changes. So it's a pretty flexible process, but it's really helpful to me to have an outline and to, you know, always know what happens next, because I go through that during the outlining process of like, okay, what's gonna happen next? I don't know. Okay, well then we're gonna sit here and we're gonna think about what would happen next. And it just makes the actual writing process so much easier for me. As far as like future books though, I don't always know stuff in advance. Like I don't have my whole series outlined, but I really don't need to. Like do I know what happens in book 4? Absolutely not. I mean, I have like some general ideas of the overarching plot of the book, and I know a few scenes that happen, but other than that, I don't know. And I'm not too worried about it at this point because that's still a couple years away. Pages for Pirates asks, how many drafts did you go through in Beyond the Fire versus Beyond the Gates? So both books were about 5 drafts with like smaller edits in between. But book 2 went a lot faster per draft because I started treating it as a job, and I was just like, okay, we have deadlines and this is happening. We're gonna have this book out within a year, so we can't be spending 5 years on book 2 because I want each book in this series to come out in about a year from each other. Plus, also after having written book 1, I had a better understanding of how my personal writing process is and what works for me, so it just made everything with book 2 a lot easier. And then Nicole asked me 9 questions. So that's fantastic, and I'm very excited to answer all of her questions because she beta read Beyond the Fire back in January or very early on in the year, which so much has changed since then, but I'm very, very excited to answer all of her questions, so we're going to get into that. So this question is, what was your favorite kind of scene to write in Beyond the Fire? There's a lot that I really enjoyed writing. My favorite things to write though are like the little quiet moments, like the little bits here and there of like Emma and Jesse just being them. Character stuff in general is always fun for me, but yeah, just kind of like the quiet, soft moments, the scenes with like a lot of emotion in them and stuff, are my favorites. My least favorite thing to write is action, because I'm just like, I don't want this right now. But like, it's important for the story. But yeah, I sometimes struggle with writing action scenes. How was it to slide back into writing those characters and this world? Honestly, I never really left it. Book 1 was published in October, and I pretty much immediately started book 2. I read through that initial draft that I had written back in high school, and like I made notes of everything that I wanted to change, which was a lot. And then when I was done with that, I immediately jumped in and started writing. And then plus, the story basically picks up where book 1 left off, so I just got to keep moving forward with these characters, and it was really great. Did everything go according to the outline? Absolutely not. I really take beta reader and editor feedback into consideration, which almost always leads to changes. And like even when writing a draft, you know, I'll new ideas will pop into my head that I want to incorporate in some way. Or I will, figure something out that I'm like, oh, this is going to be a thing that happens in a later book, so I need to go ahead and like hint at that in this book, so I'll like add that in. So yeah, things do not go according to the outline because the story just grows and like takes on a life of its own beyond that, like those initial ideas that I had. What's your favorite line from Beyond the Fire and why? Okay, so I picked 2 that are not spoilery, so they're okay to include. So actually, one of them is from the first chapter, and one of them is from the last chapter, which is kind of cool. So anyway, this first one is, we're on a road that has no end. There's no way off and no way to turn around and go back. We can only keep moving forward and hope that things will one day be better. I really like this one because it just kind of shows where they are at the beginning of the story, in the fact that they're just kind of lost in a way of they don't have anywhere to go, but all they can do is keep going. And this next one is, oh god. I've grown to appreciate fear. Feeling it means I'm still in control of myself. I'm still me. I savor that feeling now as it courses through my veins. If you've already read book 2, you know what this is referring to, and why. It's a very emotional line. Like, I feel like I'm about to tear up right now. It's fine. So yeah, I don't really know how to explain why I like this line. This is actually one of the lines that has been there from the very first draft. But yeah, this one, it means a lot, and I can't say why it means a lot without spoiling, so we're just gonna move on. How did you manage writing with studying before you graduated / working? So if you don't know, I graduated college back in May. So I basically did a lot of book 2 during my last semester of college. So I did a lot of writing over my winter break, like I said. I did a lot in December. It was winter break. I was off of school. Also, because of COVID, all of my classes were online, so it was kind of easier to manage my time. And I would also tend to set an hour aside every day to just work on writing. And even if I didn't get a lot done, like, at least I tried, you know? Like, there's some days where it's just not happening, you know? But at least I would try. And even if I wouldn't even write that much, it was still more than I had the day before. So I would also track my daily word counts, which might stress some people out, but it motivated me, because I would always be like, well, I wrote this many words yesterday, can I beat that today and write more? I'm very self-competitive. I like to compete with myself. So that was motivating for me. And now that I'm out of school and working full-time, it's just a lot easier in general, because I treat writing like part of my job. So I usually edit other people's manuscripts in the mornings and then work on my novel in the afternoons, which doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes I am editing other people's books all day, or I'm doing YouTube or something else. But if I really do need to get work done on my novel, that's kind of how I incorporate that. Which do you like best, outlining, writing, or editing? I like all for different reasons. Outlining because you get to figure out what's going on in the story, what's going to happen, but you just get to put it all in a bunch of lists. You don't actually have to write it in a good way yet, you know? And I like writing, and especially early drafts, because there's a freedom in it where you're just getting the story out and it doesn't matter if it's good or not, and you're just kind of along for the ride and figuring things out as you go. And then editing, because you get to start making it better, and editing. I mean, even though editing can be frustrating at times, because you're just jumping around scenes, trying to fix things, and then you're just I don't know if this can be any better, but I still don't like it. And so editing can be a bit frustrating. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy all parts of it at different stages. Outlining is my least favorite, just because you're working off of nothing, and I'm not always a fan of that. So yeah. Is Jesse still your favorite? Absolutely. I love him so much. Do you use music / mood boards to assist with writing? can you do a writing routine video? Yes, I will do a writing routine video. That's a great idea. It's happening. I'm gonna do it. I do have playlists for each of my books, which I should maybe share sometime, I guess, if you all would be interested. But yeah, I do have playlists with just kind of a random bunch of songs on there, not in any particular order. Just things that I hear in the background of TV shows or on the radio if I'm like in a store or something and I hear a song that I might not even actually know, but I'm just like, that line reminds me of my book, I'm gonna look up that song, and then it gets added to the playlist or whatever. But yeah, I also have a Pinterest board for the series that, you know, is like a mood board. I also have quotes on there that like remind me of the characters or the story. And there's character design stuff on there. That's not something, I have that board privated because there's some spoilery stuff on there that I don't want people to see. Yeah. I do like to write while listening to music, but I also write in silence. It just kind of depends on the day, what I'm feeling, what my distraction level is at. Like sometimes I cannot handle listening to music because I get distracted, but sometimes the silence distracts me more because my brain is thinking about other stuff. I'm like, okay, we gotta put on music to distract my brain. So it really just depends. And the final question is, how is the outlining / writing for book 3 going? Great. Book 3 is fully outlined. I have written the first draft of the first 4 chapters. That is it. So I plan to continue the draft in November for NaNoWriMo and in December. Hopefully the first draft will be done by the end of December, but you know, we'll see. So yeah, that's all the questions that you all asked. Thank you so much, everyone, for sending in questions, and now we are going to do the giveaway. Okay. So we got our wheel, we're gonna spin this thing. Books and Sunshine. So Books and Sunshine, you are the winner of the giveaway. I will contact you about getting the ebook to you. Yay! If you want to purchase book 1 or pre-order the ebook for book 2, those links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.